family, one people, one planet, one love, one family, one people, one planet, one love. Good morning and welcome to SoulCall Sunday. My name is Lisa Ferrero. I am the founder and spiritual director of SoulCall Ministries. We welcome you wherever you are on the planet this morning. We know that we've got people watching us from the UK and South Africa and points in between. So welcome and thank you for joining us this morning on a snowy, I come to you from the snowy state of Ohio this morning. Quite beautiful. Not much is happening here just yet, even though it's 10 o'clock in the morning. I'll go with that. So this morning we're going to be talking about as we enter into turning the corner into February, which is Black History Month, and it's also the month where Valentine's Day happens, so it's largely associated with love. We're going to dip into what it's like to be an away pod for God, is what I'm going to talk about, and how we deal with our senses, those that are the tactile material world senses, and that invisible thread, the invisible cord of love that connects us all and keeps us ever connected, even though we are an away pod for God. Our connection is that invisible thread of love. So coming back around with that, I'd like to invite you to join me in an affirmation before we get into our Qigong practice with Deborah Weisenberger-Lippitz. And it's a way of remembering who we are, really who we are at the core, and what the heck we're doing here. So just remembering that it's mostly love. And tuning into, I call it the divine mothership, as our away pods of God, just tuning into the infinite and making a practice to do that first before we take the step into the world, taking in through our senses and also offering through our actions what it is that is in between. If we can keep ourselves focused on the infinite, some of those things, the challenges seem to melt away. They're not quite as intense. So join me in an affirmation. I'll read the whole thing first, and then we'll do it a couple times together before we do the Qigong practice. O infinite beloved, I shall tune my thoughts with thy omniscient mind, my will with thy wisdom-guided will, and my love with thy love. So close your eyes and repeat after me. O infinite beloved, I shall tune my thoughts with thy omnipresent mind, my will with thy wisdom-guided will, and my love with thy love. And one more time. O infinite beloved, sing it, say it from your heart. O infinite beloved, I shall tune my thoughts with thine omniscient mind. I shall tune my will with thy wisdom-guided will, and my love with thy love. Please welcome Deborah Weisenberger-Lippitz for our Qigong practice this morning.
Huan Yuan Ling Tong is a Chinese word with many meanings. Today we are going to use the first word, Huan, to move the mind's consciousness with the Qi into the lungs, to open up the lungs through chanting. So please, look forward from inside the mind's home out through the third eye, Yin Tang, to merge with nature's Qi, further to the stars and further to infinite space. Going out, from there, gather all the healing Qi, love, good information, and pull it back through the stars, through nature, through Yin Tang, and very gently close the eyes. Now withdraw the vision further into the middle of the head, the mind's home, Shenqi Palace. And from there, place your attention to the top of the head, Ba Hui, and open up, expanding up through the ceiling into infinite space, gathering all the healing Qi, love, good information, and pull it down, surrounding the entire body, my body, in my space, your body in your space, each one of us, merging us together as one, heart to heart and mind to mind. Feel the mind shining inside the middle of the head, shining down into the heart center, and from the heart center dropping down into the lower dantian, creating a column of chi, pure light, chi. And from this column of chi, radiate outward through the body, all tissues and layers, all the way down to the tips of the toes, opening up the bubbling spring of each foot, Zhongshen, to merge with earth chi all the way through to infinite space, gathering all the healing chi, love, good information, and pulling it up through the earth into the body and deep inside. Now we are all working together as one. Very gently allow your arms to be pulled up, bending at the elbows. Place the centers of the palms on the lungs. Now take a nice deep breath and feel the lungs. Now move your consciousness with chi into the lungs and chant, opening the lungs. Huan, 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 Huan. Continue chanting, the lungs opening, chi integrating, assimilating, transforming. Huan, Huan, Huan. Now stop. Feel the chi inside, uniting, transforming, altering. Then slowly lower the hands to the solar plexus, Huanyang Palace. Then lower to the navel, moving the chi inside the lower dantian. Then relax the hands to both sides, gently open the eyes, knowing the lungs are now fully functioning, and give thanks to our chi field and to ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. And moving into the space of staying into that space of oneness, that space of love, here's a song that we wrote inspired by the poetry of 13th century mystic poet Rumi. Erika Luckett and I wrote this. It's called If All the World, and it's about all the different worlds. The Sufis believe in many worlds, like the world of plants, there's the animal world, there's the insect world, and the human world, but the world that goes on is the world of lovers. So allow yourself to maybe continue the practice you were just doing so beautifully with Deborah, and allow yourself to feel the love of this song. Maybe send love out to yourself, into yourself, out to the people you love, whom you can't be around physically right now. This invisible thread, this invisible force field that we all live in. If all the world is full of thorns, the lover's heart would be a bed of roses. Even if the sphere of stars stops turning, the world of lovers keeps going on. Everybody gets sad sometime, but the lover's soul keeps a tender smile. Give the lover an unlit candle, and she'll awaken with her own light. If all the world is full of thorns, the lover's heart would be a bed of roses. Even if the sphere of stars stops turning, the world of lovers keeps going on. Breathing in and exhaling. And when you breathe in, just making an effort to really feel your body expand. Feeling the lungs expand and feeling the brain get the oxygen it needs to allow some stimulation to happen, to move us around a little bit. Move us around a little bit in consciousness, which is what I wanted to talk to us about today. Just sharing some ideas. I was thinking about this a lot over the past couple of weeks and, years, I'll say, and now dealing with this global pandemic that continues in another form. It's evolving too, as we are evolving, to meet the challenges of the day, to meet the challenges of the minute sometimes is essential. To do what we can do, what's possible for us in the minute, is to remember that even though we have senses, moving from the senses to the nonsense. So what if, through our physical senses, we recognize that we are a soul in this away pod, these beautiful away pod bods for God, right? How many rhymes can I make up in a single sentence? Too many, probably. As curly as my hair is, that's how curly my mind can get on the inside sometimes. But here we go, with this idea that we were brought here to do something specific. And it doesn't have to be any grand sweeping thing. If we can remember that, just like if a butterfly flaps its wings over here, the field and the essence of what just happened can be felt across the other end of the world. All we need to do is keep ourselves in check. What if the whole idea was to come to have a grand adventure? And if we used our senses to pull information into the brain cell, like the central away pod system of the brain. What if we were here to just entertain ourselves with beautiful things on a frequency level that we can only experience fully in human form? What if life was chiefly about beauty? It's hard to imagine that sometimes when we see people suffering, sometimes when we're suffering. But then again, what can we do about it? And it seems like sometimes it's a crisis of connection more than a real challenge that is presenting. Sometimes it is a challenge, but if we can remain connected to Source, we can move through it with a different level of appreciation. Maybe our soul needs to get a particular experience. But here we are, encased in these beautiful bodies, to come to have an experience with the senses. So if you can imagine your soul seated in the position where it's driving these beautiful bodies. And then we've got eyes, right? And I want to share how powerful our senses are at bringing information to our brains, and why it's important to put our brains and our consciousness in places that are beautiful at best and not as, that can create surprise, the wonder of awe and surprise, but recognizing the distinction between surprise and shock, right? Because shock stuns the senses and our receptors kind of get small, and we're not as open to communicate with a larger field of awareness around us. When we're in fear, we get really closed. And fear keeps us apart from God. It keeps us apart from the infinite. So using discernment to place ourselves as often as possible in places where we're conscious. Right before we started, I want to recognize Kelly Lynn Knott, who's behind. Natalia got a break this morning, so we wish her well on her day off. But we were just talking about comedians, and sometimes it's challenging for me personally to find a comedian who's really funny without being too shocking or just vulgar or things that just aren't beautiful to me. I'm not saying not funny to anyone anywhere, but knowing that level of you don't have to grin and bear it. You could just pick yourself up and leave a situation a lot of the times. So being discerning, like where we put our body and our senses, what we're pulling in to these beautiful beings is what we're going to cook up in the kitchen of our consciousness, and we're going to offer out to the world. So what ingredients are you pulling in from the senses? So if we recognize that every second we take in over 12 million bits of information. Our eyes take in 10 million bits of information, just our eyes alone. Our ears take in 100,000 bits per second. Our skin, 1 million bits per second. Our taste, depending on who's cooking, 1,000 bits per second. And smell is another million bits per second. So we take in over 12 million bits of information per second, but our conscious mind, like our prefrontal cortex region of the mind, is only able to process, that is, it's only able to be aware of 72 bits of information per second. So if you think about 12 million and 72, so what happens with the rest of this information? Well, it comes in to our subconscious mind, and our conscious mind then in the subconscious part of our brains just begins to fill in all of that extra, all in the gaps with familiar information through pattern recognition. Our conscious mind fills in the gaps with familiar information through pattern recognition. And it creates shortcuts through well-traveled terrain, keeping us tethered to the familiar and disconnected from the possible but unknown. And this is taken from a creativity workshop Erika and I would do, and I still do in companies and for individuals. But why is that important to recognize what happens with the familiar grooves? It'll give meaning to things based on what we've already experienced. This is another reason why it's important to recognize where we put ourselves, what kind of experiences we participate with. Because in taking all this information in, since we can only assess 72 bits in the prefrontal cortex region of our brain, it just gets categorized by experiences we've already had. And therein lies the difficulty. I work with team building and communications experts, and one of the challenges we've had over the years is how we put meaning to things. You see a thing, we see a thing, and we think we've got it all sized up because of what we've experienced already. So it's important to pay attention to the experiences we bring into our life the first time around, or even if we don't repeat that experience, something in our sensory perception will send it down that groove, that path that you've already cut, and it'll just keep training it in and make it deeper and deeper and deeper. And then when we're trying to come together and build a bridge of love with another individual who's had different experiences, it makes that a little more challenging because we're both so cut or set in our ways, right? That's where meditation comes in. It allows us to spread that consciousness, that brain, those deeply cut grooves. It kind of smooths them over by deep meditation. And we can get to a starting point. We can do it over again, kind of like the Etch-a-Sketch of consciousness. You could shake the Etch-a-Sketch. For those of you who don't know what that is, that used to be the coolest toy on the planet before the iPad. You could create whatever you want. But just shaking that and starting over with a clean slate. So based on the repetition of a pattern, our conscious mind gives meaning to sensory input. And by cultivating creativity, we open wide the neural pathways to that which exists beyond the known, well-worn grooves, or beyond the known world, dare I say, the world of the senses. And, I love to be surprised by things that I don't expect to have happen. I like subtle surprises. I don't like being shocked. I just don't. I don't appreciate that. Some people really love it. As sensory overload as I like it is watching my nieces and nephews when they were little tearing open their gifts on Christmas Eve, or going to an amusement park. That's fun. Others have sensory overload or sensory input when they go to a mall or shopping. All the smells and the sights and the sounds is a lot. Then there's that point of exhaustion that happens, just sensory input. Wow, so much. If we started to discern a little bit and just try to pull things in that are beautiful, like going to a museum or reading a good book of poetry, listening to excellent music that stimulates these brain cells, just finding the balance between these things. I know people like to ski or snowshoe, just finding that rhythm with your breath and your heart and your limbs as you're walking through a snowshoe opportunity or just walking with friends. And it's important to allow ourselves to imagine a new world. It's difficult to, Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge, and we cannot solve problems using the same kind of thinking we used to create them. It's really true. You'll keep running into the same kinds of things. But the point there is, and one Reverend Christy and I have talked about a couple times and brought up in the Tuesday night rewinds, is it's hard to have the opportunity to be creative and imagine beauty when your stomach's not full, or when you don't have a roof over your head, or warm clothes when it's cold, or a home. Well, what I'll say is people are using their imagination still, but it's to create different things. It's to create different ways of finding food or different ways of finding shelter. So ours is to remember that we are always connected in offering beauty. What if our main goal was to come as some cosmic warrior of light, away pods for God, when our only mission was to come as emissaries of light, bringing more light to an already illuminated situation, right? And to leave love. Like, what if we are the bucket brigade of consciousness, each one of us, and coming through, bringing love, exiting out through a transition, reincarnating again, bringing more love in a different way, in a different space. What if we can remember that's what we're doing, just cosmic warriors back and forth, bringing love and light, love and light. Sounds a little simple sometimes, but what if it is that simple? What if it's what we expose ourselves to while we're here that makes it hard to remain calm in the center? When we're feeling fear, a really good and effective method of staying calm, it's hard to feel love and feel your conscious connection with the Godhead, the Goddess, whatever you call source, when we're afraid, because it can be experienced mostly with a calm heart. So one really good way is to recognize when you're not breathing. I remember when I was in sales, when I first started, I went to call on one of the biggest accounts we had. It was this group of women who are amazing buyers, but they bought for 12 different stores. And I was selling alternative cards and gifts, things that weren't Hallmark, were considered alternative pop-up cards that are so popular now. I was one of the first people to get that line back in the day when they were brand new. But I remember sitting in there with my business partner at the time, and I wasn't breathing. I was just kind of like sitting there smiling. People who know me, like, can you imagine me not breathing or being afraid to talk to someone? I was, but it was the first time, and it was, and I just remember her just putting her hand on me saying, breathe. Like, oh yeah, I'm not breathing. Or being backstage for a big performance, remembering, to breathe deeply into your toes, stomp your feet, keep yourself grounded. Breathing is the easiest way to get ourselves centered and rehearted that we are connected to source. So taking a deep breath, slow, deep breath, hold a breath, and an exhale. It's a really good way to do that. So what if you are here to become these pods of light, and like we have on our SoulCall Ministries website, purveyors of consciousness? What if you came to find the beauty and bring it back to the astral world? Look what the humans are doing. Of course, they could probably see us. Who knows? But what if we're here to be the purveyors of consciousness and to share that with each other? So keeping ourselves in a space where we can move through calmly Turning off the news, sometimes taking a mental fast, a mental diet from always being on that train of adrenaline, going, going, going. The cortisol levels sometimes don't always get to be back in that calm zone. So we're connected to the mothership. I call it the divine mothership. And the mission is simply to love and be loved, bring more light to an already illumined world, and come as this cosmic bucket brigade, and ride the waves of creation and light, and to bring love and leave it here to grow more love. Bring love, leave it, go, and come back again to grow more love. When consciousness is kept on God, Paramahansa Yogananda says, you will have no fears. So what if in the morning we reminded ourselves to just be connected? Every night, put your thoughts on God. Yogananda says, Heavenly Beloved is with me and I am protected. Or when you're going to go out into the world, Heavenly Beloved is with me and I am protected. Mentally surround yourself with spirit, like these Qigong practices. Sometimes, when I would go into something that was a bit of a challenge for me, accompanying Erika at the beginning of our journey through, physical health challenges, I would surround myself with the gurus, that whole lineage and Yogananda. I would pretend that they were all around me and around us. So we always had our little posse, our entourage, if you will. And I felt protected and safe, even when we got news that was really challenging. There was something in it for us, but we allowed ourselves to stay calm. I remember when I was in school for developmental psychology. I went back to school in my late 30s, and I got my degree in developmental psychology because I was very interested in how the brain works and why certain things work for some people and not others, and the psychology of staying connected to the infinite source of love on this invisible cord of love. We're always connected, but what makes us forget? Why do we forget? And how can we work with younger people to help them remember and hold on to this wisdom that they are these divine souls here to experience beauty with their senses, to fill up more of that beauty in their selves and share it, not to have such a hard life? How can we help remember? And I was doing a report. It was one of those 50 pagers, and so I really dove deep into the connection. There was a big report that came out in the year 2000 about the link between violent video games and aggressive behavior. Video games and violence was this thing. And I became really interested in it. And I was surprised to learn that there was a stronger correlation with people who played violent video games and violence, anger, than smoking and lung cancer. Think about that for a minute. People who watched violent and participated with, think of all the things that have to be wired and all the senses that are kind of hijacked and on high alert when you're playing a video game. That was a stronger link there than smoking and lung cancer. And I thought, wow. Then I started to pay attention and put some of this stuff into the report too of some of the violent movies or things that are just gratuitous violence or gratuitous sex in movies and things we don't always really need to see. We can kind of fill in, but where do we put ourselves? What are we taking in through the senses? And what does that shape us to become? Or to, something as simple as I love to take a good ride, a long ride in the country, either on a bicycle or just, a car, just to enjoy or like a road trip, when we were on tour, like a nice long drive through a place that wasn't Southern California or the Bay Area, sometimes like driving through Texas or some of those places where it's just wide open and you don't have to concentrate, but you could still go about 75 or 80 miles an hour. But when you're trying to drive pretty quickly with a lot of other cars, how pared down and how intense and focused we have to be to drive like that as compared to the beautiful Sunday driver country experience. Life is like that too. Things we watch, places we go. If it's too hectic and crazy, it affects us. So it's, again, just paying attention to where we put our consciousness and how we could be more adept at navigating away from things in our away pod and toward things that bring beauty and call forth more of that. So maybe one tiny habit we started talking about, the Lord helps those who help themselves. That's what it says in the Bible. And that's true. And maybe the thing we can do to help ourselves is to remember that no matter what we're going through, we are these away pods for God in this beautiful body, directing the kingdom of activity through the senses, always ever connected to the divine mothership of consciousness, through the cord of love expressed through our conscious will, the volition of our thought. So what if helping ourselves is to remember one tiny habit we talked about at the beginning of the year, developing the tiny habit of staying connected consciously in every moment, to recognize that we just came here to be love. We came here to be love. It's the only thing we leave behind. We might leave a lot of stuff, but the stuff doesn't matter. It's the love that it reminds you of. It reminds us of the love that was shared with this person with this certain thing. So taking that away, being the away pod for God, bringing love, putting your consciousness where it can remain calm, being informed without being beaten over the head with information and sensationalized input. We don't really need that. We can fill in. Be careful what we do once, they say, because once you cut that groove, that's where our subconscious will fill it in. Oh, here's a spot. Just put it, this looks like this, and there it goes. So may it be the there it goes be in a place of love and light and wisdom and peace. Peace, peace, peace. It begins with us, it ends with us, and it's everything in between with us too. So be that purveyor of consciousness. You're a way pod for God. Light up the world with your smile, with your heart, and the things you do, and leave more love than you found when you got here. Now, please enjoy this song of Lisa and Erika. We're doing a live performance at the Freight and Salvage, one of our favorite venues in California, in Berkeley. And this song is called Just Be Love.
One clear thought, followed by one bold move, sets off a wave of emotion, making the way for a miracle. What is a miracle? The shape of what can be, when we believe in what we cannot see. It is the courage of dreamers, song of the singers, bringing in a better tomorrow. Knowing truth in the face of fear, standing strong till the coast is clear. Be brave, be bold, be wise, be love. It's the power of one who won't stand up, followed by one who won't back down, and one by one we remain true to the vision, turning injustice around. God's change is sure to come, and we know that we're the ones. Be brave, be bold, be wise, be love. Just be love, just be love, just be love. Said you wanna be starting something, you got to be starting something. Said you wanna be starting something, sing it, you got to be starting something. Said you wanna be starting something, you got to be starting something. Said you wanna be starting something, you got to be starting something.
Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has.
You got to be starting something. Said you wanna be starting something.
Just be love.
A change is sure to come when we know Just be love. Just be love. Just be love.
Yeah, just be love. Once again, remember your divine soul's mission is only and simply to love and be loved, bring more light to an already illumined world. What if you came as the cosmic bucket brigade of consciousness and light and come to grow love? And choose today, to be a person of concentration who's poised and prepared. Choose it for yourself. I charge myself with that every day. I charge myself in the morning with I am going to be the person of concentration, the person I want to be, poised and prepared. I'll share this really beautiful affirmation. It's a Paramahansa Yogananda special. It's one that I learned a long time ago and has served me so well. And I remember being in the back stage at a Silomar. Some of you know that, some of the great big conferences, talking to some of the ministers and other practitioners and people who were nervous to go out and speak. And it would be this. You can say to yourself, I am calmly active. I am actively calm. I am an emissary of peace, seated on the throne of poise, directing the kingdom of activity. Yeah, maybe we'll put that in the newsletter this week or next week. I think we've got it done already. So thank you for joining us this morning. And share us with your friends. And if you haven't already subscribed to us on YouTube, please do that. SoulCall Ministries at YouTube. And like us and share us and join us on Facebook as well and Instagram, SoulCall Ministries. We thank you for your donations. We are doing really wonderful things in the world, not just here in Columbus, Ohio. We've got an away pod of consciousness in St. Petersburg, Florida with Reverend Christy. And our friend Joy is heading it up out west. If you would like to become part of our Soul Squad pod, I can't stop saying that word today. For some reason, it brings me joy. If you would like to sign up for our newsletter, but let us know, Soul Squad at soulcallministries.com. Let us know you would like to be part of our Soul Squad team in your area. We'll help you to get started. You can join us on calls, and we can help spread this love and joy around the world and just grow this web of love together. Sign up for the newsletter and share it with your friends. Share this ministry with your friends too. You can go to our website, soulcallministries.org, and the donations, soulcallministries.org/donate. We're on Venmo, PayPal, and check. Some people love to send checks with notes. I love receiving your notes. So I thank you for that. But no donation is too big or too small. And I wanted to say thank you to those of you who have pledged to send your stimulus checks. Some of you don't need the stimulus check for your own personal use, but you're allowing us to be the stewards of that, the fiduciary responsibility of using that to feed families, which is what we're doing. Our Soul Squad has been hard at work organizing. We're setting up several food drop and pickup locations that are going to happen on February 14th. So some exciting news coming up next week about where these locations are in Columbus and surrounding areas. But we will put your funds to excellent use. And believe me, we know how to stretch a dime. Our Soul Squad is just blowing my mind with how much we're able to purchase some beautiful quality items. And also we're going to purchase gift cards, small gift cards to put in these bags so that people who are in need, families can purchase the things they need that we don't know what they need. So everybody's needs are different. So donations and prayers. If you are in need of prayer, know that we are here for you and with you. And that would be prayers at soulcallministries.org. And if you just go to the website, soulcallministries.org, you can click on the page where you can contact us and send your prayer request in that way. Know that, again, no prayer is too big or too small. Anything that you need help remembering your connection to Source, know that you are not alone. We are with you in consciousness and in this physical world too, even if we can't see each other. We've got some really exciting new opportunities coming up. A songwriting workshop with a fabulous songwriter who's an award-winning songwriter, Ann Heaton, on February 10th It's Sorrows and Silver Lining. It's going to be, actually, it's a 90-minute workshop on Wednesday, February 10th at 7 p.m. Everybody is welcomed. I had questions about, do you have to be a member of SoulCall to do any of these? The world is our membership. So you're all invited. You'll just need to go and sign up on the website so that you'll get the link to come to the live Zoom room. And then later in the month, our wonderful friend Amber Darland, who's expert at children's music, she has a workshop coming up at the end of February. I think it's the 24th. Is that right? Yeah, Sunday, February 21st, right after the live stream. It's toddler and preschool music with Amber Darland. And you'll also have to just go online under events and classes, click on the link, and just register to join. Both of these are free offerings. If you want to donate, great. And if not, it's not required. We want to offer these to the community to help build community. Join us on Tuesday evenings at 6 o'clock for SoulCall Sunday Rewind. It's the opportunity to meet other members of the SoulCall community who watch the live stream and have something to share or ask. It's a beautiful conversation. It's been a really lovely way of meeting people from different parts of the country who are in the SoulCall ministry vibe with you. So we'd love to know who you are. And a very exciting thing is starting next week, February 7th, we are going to shift from doing the rewind on Tuesday nights to an open Zoom room that will start at 11 o'clock in the morning on Sundays. So starting next Sunday, February 7th, those of you who are watching us live right now, you can join us live at probably 11 o'clock in the morning. There'll be a link on the website. All you'll have to do is just go to the website, click the link to join the Zoom room on Sundays, and we can have this beautiful fellowship and community sharing. We can just meet each other, and it's our chance to connect personally. I always feel like I'm forgetting something because there's so many things going on. Oh, one very fun thing coming up. We got our SoulCall Ministries. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Our SoulCall Ministries masks. These would be the masks that go over the other masks that you get. But this would be the one that would, it's not the approved, what am I trying to say? You know what I'm saying? These are just the beautiful ones that you put over top of the paper ones. They're cover really, really well. They're going to be available in our store, which is going to be opening sometime, probably next week. We're going to have caps and all kinds of fun things. So I'm so excited about this and all the work we're doing in the world. So I thank you once again for your consciousness, for being willing to be this beautiful away pod for God and bringing love and light in your little area of the world. With every step you take, know what the difference is you do make. Doing small things with great attention and with great love is what Mother Teresa would say. It's just tiny little habits with great attention, great love. And so thank you for joining us. And remember, wherever you are on the planet, you are loved. Peace and blessings.